of our small block Chevy Buildup, which is roughly 355. Again, we're not opening up the heads, but I assume that they probably changed out the pistons and board and honed it. But in any case, it's our small block Buildup. So we've got some more parts that came in since the last time you saw us. We've got our oil pan installed. Came out nice. It's nice when you're able to use a rotisserie, and this thing has a rotisserie on this engine stand, so it's nice to turn that around. We were waiting on our pickup screen, and that got installed. As soon as that was done, I was missing one of the C-nuts to lock down the splash guard. We got that done. Double checked everything, made sure everything was torqued accordingly. We've popped in our distributor, and I started playing around and mocking up. We ended up going with the long, okay, because of the brackets and the way the setup is. We're going to have him, he's most likely nothing original is any good. And he's most likely going to have to get a new radiator. I know it sucks, but the thing is this investment, you want to make sure you do it right, above all. And then we're going to incorporate a high flow electric fan, so that way we don't need any pulley system, and look how nice and clean that is. So without further ado, we're also going to file some burrs in here, and ARB actually has a set of matching 12-point stainless polished bolts for our long neck, and they're due in today, just not yet. Sometimes parts come from here or over there. They don't always arrive in time, but we made sure we had a 2-day to get them in here today. I spent some time mocking this up. This is our new power steering pump. The other one looked like a truck ran over it. The brackets, nothing jived. And then again, look at how beautiful this thing has come out. So we've got our front belt, which is going to run over the alternator, water pump, crank. The inner one, water pump, crank to our single drive right here, and we're ready to go and install this. And I've got a slew of belts coming in from one of our local stores, AutoZone, and we're gonna see which is which. Hopefully we don't have the same belt. We have anywhere from 42 to 45 inches. I think it was 42 to 44 for the power steering belt, and the alternator belt was 43 to 45, just a little longer. So we've got our install tool ready to go, and we're basically getting this all set up. We'll install our carburetor, get our water neck in. We're still waiting on plug wires. We've got our spark plugs in. We're going to double check the gap. We're going to go with Autolite 26s. Okay, it's a double platinum stainless steel body, so they're not going to sit there and rush. They're a nice plug. They work well with these small blocks and these Chevy applications, even the Fords. Now, of course, these are steel heads, so we went with the 26. If I went with an aluminum head, that is a 14 mil longer thread, which is going to be their 3924. And of course, they've got, I think, a 3923 and 3925 or 26. The lower the number is, I believe, the colder the plug, and then when you step up, it's hotter. But, I mean, this is a used motor. We don't have any blow-by. We were awesome regarding our compression. We still have to do a valve latch, but in a bit, as soon as we get all this gathered up, we're going to hook her up to our engine test stand and fire her up. So, let's get started. So we got that on there, got a little bit of anti-seize. And again, just like before when we installed the harmonic balancer, go until you stop. Make sure this is not dry. We've got a little grease and anti-seize. In fact, we've got our thrust bearing right here. And I'm going to take some of this assembly lube and just put a drop on that thread, just to keep the threads lubricated. There we go. Make sure this thing is plumb, and then come in. And we did that, we dropped that right so we can catch and get that to spin around. Just make sure that's fairly, you can turn that around. And she's fairly straight. Everything is brand new. So now, we're gonna hold this in place. We're not gonna turn this. we're only going to turn the large nut. So without further ado, we do need to, he took all my wrenches back, didn't he? Ah, rats. All right, so again, we want to hold that bottom one. That's going to be a smaller one. Let's find it. There we go. Prefer a wrench, but oh well. And we've got that on reverse, so here we go. You know, you can actually heat these up a bit too if you want, but I wouldn't suggest it. You'll burn it. Now keep in mind, this is a press-on. I mean, we do have the ability to unpress it. That's what that groove is for the removal tool. In fact, I'll just show you. It looks just like this. That is right here. And what happens is that locks onto the front of the pulley, and as you turn that in, it pulls it off. So while we're installing this, I don't want to go back and forth. I just want to make sure and look down the line. Everything is perfectly in line. We're going on the internet, internet. So that's what we're shooting for. And then we're going to determine whether or not we have to change some spacing there. I don't think so. When I kind of eyeballed this, this is the way it looked like it'd work out. Now it's going on beautifully. And always grease or oil the shaft on the inside of your pulley before you install it. Just don't do it dry. Especially aluminum. Anytime you have stainless steel and or aluminum, always anti-seize them. Always grease them. You never want to do I don't care if you're going stainless into iron block or the opposite into aluminum, or even a steel bolt into aluminum. You don't, something's going to go, and it's usually the aluminum and or the stainless. So keep that in mind. Okay. All right. We are pretty much there. So looks like I might have to back that out a hair. Yeah, I just need to back that off a hair, but that's pretty much dead on. All right. So now I can take my tool off. We back this off, and there's not much to go anyways. Flip that back. You didn't talk in there, I was really paying attention to that well. So yeah, it ain't much. It ain't much. See? Again, you just go until it stops, and I anti-seize the thread a bit, so that way you don't lock your tool in the looking real good, I'd say right there. And once we get the belt, you're going to look at that in line, and we'll make that final adjustment if need be. And yeah. So now I can back this off. And then I've changed all these bolts from this kit. I actually had to supply some of my own spacers as I was building this up, just to make sure everything was spaced where I needed it to be. And then I've got stainless flat washing. Look at that, perfect, no gold, nothing, and that's right there on the tip. And I've got stainless flat washers in here with my stainless flange head, and they're serrated, means they look like this. Some of these were just too long, and I didn't care for this. In fact, the others were just plain galvanized against the chrome. So this is stainless. It's going to hold up. That's what I mean by serrated. That's self-locking. The back there, we did have to use the stud, when I come on over here, from the original one and replace this chrome cover bolt, which is right here. But then it goes to a 10 mil 1.5. So then we've got another stainless flat washer, and then we've got a stainless, same thing, serrated flange nut on the back. And the other thing is the reason why I did that is because that'll lock here, and it won't lock against the thread, and then turn that out if you ever have to replace this down the road. Because if that comes out, then you've got to get a thin, it's going to be pretty tight, because you've got to get a thin wrench just to lock that bolt down so you can stop that from spinning and take off your nut. So don't use a nylock or a C-nut for that application because of that. And of course, everything again, with the exception of up here, I mean, well, let me back up. Everything is anti-seized, all the threads. This right here happened to be an original bolt, but it's a 10 by, no, it's an 8 by 125, and I think I have that in a button head, or actually a socket head to complement the front here. This comes with this kit. These are all ARP, but what I did have to do is take my die grinder over hither, and I had to notch back here and then notch straight down there so I can open that up, because if this displacement from the factory or the manufacturer was too tight. And then I knew that this profile here, and again, this is aluminum, and so I wanted to anti-seize those. Once I wasn't fighting, I got these started, and one by one tightened it up, so that brought that down, and that actually was like this, and then brought that in. And then I still have enough room to move, and I've got a thick washer here on this side, because this is going to be locking. That's your adjustment. And then down here, unfortunately, I don't have anything. There is one kit I got, but the problem is it comes with a kit, and it was about 50 bucks, and I'm sending that back because we're not going to use anything. And their top by Spectre just didn't work. And this was TRD, Transdap. So, anywho, yeah, that's it. I would have liked to get some bling on here. In fact, I think if this is 5 inches, let's see, because I do have some motor mount bolts coming in. And no, that's right. This guy here was about 6.5 inches. And unfortunately, ARP stopped at 5. And speaking of which, I was going to get, the only ARP bolt is going to be the main that's coming in, which will be 5. These are the original shells. Now they have ARPs in here. We're just going to use regular grade 8 bolts that bolts to the block, and then these mount to the chassis. And the way to rebuild and fix these, look at these, just brand new, looks nice. I double coated these, actually triple coated on paint. They look like they were powder coated. So you're going to see this chamfer here, and I just know that this is my left hand, my driver. So you're going to come to the back, and we had to use something in the way just under a 3/8 to drill this out, okay? And then you separate these, and then we solvent tanked, we media blasted, and then we ziz wheeled to get rid of the roughness and got that all clean prepped. We primed it with an etching primer, and then we used it's a I think it was called Big Rig High Gloss Black frame black, and it's nice paint, goes on well, and it is what you see. And then here's our new energy suspension, so that sandwiches like that. And then as the motor goes down and back into the car, boom, and of course this is our driver's side. And then we got some Summit headers. We try to cut corners and keep it as cheap as possible for the customer because he's on a budget, but there's only so much you can cut. And then come to find out, I mean, this is bad, that's bad. And his brackets, by the way, I mean, no, that's actually the original, but he has one that's still bolted to his original power steering pump, and it was hideous. So again, we're just waiting on parts now. So when we see in the next frame, we're gonna get this thing hoisted onto the engine test stand and fire her up. She's gonna look nice. In fact, I'll show you the carburetor went up, which is right here. Okay, here's an important thing for a lot of you to understand. And of course, yes, the nuts come off. Very important when you're calculating your CFM, okay? Simple mathematics. You take your engine displacement, you multiply that by the high range of the cam, like you're wide open all the time. Then what you want to do is divide what I call by engine pi, 3456, 3,456. And that's going to spit out, in this case, I think it came out 570 to 590, which the Rochester was about a 550 or 500 primary with about a 600, 650 secondary. So this is a 600 square bore. And what I mean by that is just what I said, it's square. A spread bore, which is your GM Rochester. See if I got one laying around here. Probably not, because I'm looking for it. Anyways, I thought I had one sitting right there. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to show you what that is. Spread bore is where it's narrow here, and as it comes out here, it flanges out a little more. So this is wider, and this is more narrow on your primary to your secondary. That's called spread bore, okay? And that's real typical with the Rochester Quadrajet GM style. And this is a universal Holley, which was found on Fords, but it's universal for both Ford and Chevy. Again, it's by CFM. They're a little more expensive, about $100, $120, about a buck plus tax more than Summit carburetor or like Proform and stuff. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Summit carburetor actually came from a design from Holley where they tried to make something more affordable. But again, you get what you pay for, I'll just say that much. And if you want a good carburetor and you're looking at a pretty much stock application for any small block, be it a 318 Dodge, a 350 Chev, or 289 to 302 Ford small block. The 600 Holley, it's a great carburetor. It is item number, and if you're looking up online with Summit Racing, they'll have HLY for the 3-digit alpha prefix -0-8- excuse me, let me start over again. HLY-0-80457, S is in Sam. And it comes with electric choke. And then your kick down, this is adjusted for Ford, but there is a bracket for a 700 R4, and there are some holes here. You can hook up your TH350 Chevy automatic and or TH400. The 700 R4 has a little bit different geometry, which is why this was incorporated. Aha! And I have one. You see that? See that offset there? This bolts to the arm, and then this leg stands up, and that gives you the proper geometry, because that is more temperamental than the TH350 and the 400 transmissions. In fact, when you're adjusting those, you're going to notice that you have to adjust those in 1/8" increments. And from the start, you want to make sure there's not a bunch of slop in there. And then again, make sure when you go wide open that you're not your TV cable is not restricting your throttle. And also make sure nothing else is obstructive. And when you hit your gas pedal and your partner says floor and you're only right here and you got that much to go, then you're gonna have issues. You gotta solve that, take care of that. And that, with that being said, we're gonna see you in a bit and get this thing on the engine stand. I can't wait to fire this thing up. Catch you soon. All right, so we are ready to get this off the engine stand and onto that test stand. As you see, we got this all lined up and installed. Everything is perfect. In fact, when we're running this motor, we're not going to put this belt on. We just need the alternator. Fortunately, a lot of stuff's out of stock. And AutoZone, one of our locals, didn't have any of the belts in stock. Not even one. So I have to source it from somewhere else, and it won't be here tomorrow. So what we're going to do is seize the opportunity and, to get this on this test stand, but I still got to call my guy at Summit. Oh, and we still have to install this. I'm waiting on my bolts. That's the other reason why I need to call him, so we can finally send this home and have it done. But like I said, I got a couple little burrs here. We'll just get some grease and my long die grinder, get in there. There's like 3 of them. They're really sharp. We're going to get rid of that so that way that thing's nice and smooth and we optimize flow. Okay? So, without further ado, let's move her out. It's on, brakes on, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, imagine that. Jeez. There we go. That's right to go. We start her up. Boom! I gotta do a little shim sham here to get this thing out. Coming. Okay, I'm gonna shift over.
Come out. Okay, and then I need you to steer that way to tweak. Yeah, turn it. Turn it. So, and I gotta stop now. I gotta come in here. A little more. Come out. Okay, so here's the deal. The machine's gonna be facing this way, so this. What am I? Yeah, get me this has to come around.
So, fortunately, my camera guy is doing 2 things in one. All right. So I'll get that. I'll spin that over to you. There we go. Straight in. Keep coming. Right there. That's good. That's good. Okay, come on.
My bad.
Oh, that's because that little guy is bent back there. Hang on. Jeez. Always something.
On the go.
Well, somebody obviously went yanking on it. They bent this tab back, so I got to straighten it out. This is the reason why I end up replacing and buying new. So, okay, now that that's back, now that. Imagine that. Amazing when things are intact and not effed up. Okay, so make sure this is tight. I still got to put that pneumatic ram on here. That's pretty good right there. We'll go ahead and crack these loose. That is a 3/8 or 9/16. And then we'll readjust our angle accordingly. I got that all greased up. Look at that. All right, we'll get this out of the way. I'm going to straighten that up a bit. And I got to put the bell housing on there. And remind me when I call my supplier, I'm going to have to get an extra bow housing just for this purpose. All right. What do we do with the bow housing? Right there. Okay. So I've got all these. These are all going to be 3/8. This is splatter shield by McLeod from my Jeep. We've been using this. Okay, here we go. There's the top side. Get that right side up, and boom. That should be it right there. I think that hole right there. We'll find out in a minute, huh? Got him. Ah, that's too tight. That won't work. Got that one. Yeah, those inner ones are tight. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We just need to get the ones down here. And unfortunately, I'll have to use something without the flange. Yep. All right. We could still get this in and put those in later. Let me set this down. No, here. Yeah, that head's going to hit. That won't work. You know, we're going to have to use a socket head. Yep. All right, so that right there, and perfect. There you go. So now we've got it on here. We realized I've really never, a couple years ago when I had bought and built this thing, I had a Tex at the time that tested this out with another engine, not realizing what they probably had to do. So I'm going to probably run down to Home Depot or Lowe's and get some 2x12, scallop the center of the wood and use it as like a platform, not too deep of a scallop, so we can easily roll that on and off the wood. The wood is going to help elevate and lift the whole assembly so we can get the engine stand to slide underneath. Unfortunately, they didn't take that into account when they built this. So this right now is about two inches almost off the ground. So now that's done. So where we're left to now is just hooking up our gauges. I've got to install the sending units within the manifold, the block, or the manifold. Establish my number 1. We'll show you that coming up. And then I've got some test headers. I got to bolt those on. And then I've got some mufflers. I'm missing a clamp. I got to put those on so it's not that loud. And put in the fuel, the battery, hook everything up, make sure everything's tight and secure like these mounts here, and fire her up. So anyways, I think that's about it for now. It's after 2:30. We're gonna have to start busting down and cleaning up and picking up and locking up and all that fun stuff. And next time you see us on the next frame, we're gonna be firing this thing up.
Hey Jim, how's it going?
Hey Junior, how you doing?
You making some leadway over here?
Yes, I am. Nobody knew the difference between these two, and it didn't specify, but I kind of figured, so we ordered one of each. See these 90s? Well, this goes to your, I don't see it on this one, and I don't want to open up a can of worms. Oh, here they are right here. You gotta put that together, and that is different. Well, it's got nipple type. So what we need here is we're gonna need 90s, and this one's got 90s, and I think it's all pre-cut for a small block 350. So we're gonna check this out. If we have to manipulate a wire or two, no problem. So there we go. You see those little nipples there? They actually will tuck up underneath this coil cap, this coil cover here. So they go to here, and then our other 90s, which this is the only one that's going to be extremely tight, okay? But these aren't the headers we're going to use, okay? And I know why this was knocked. This is an extra set of headers that we have for testing, and this will not be used right now because we're going to install a regular blaster coil. We're not using the MSD, and we're going to connect our distributor directly into that, so this guy can go back. What number was this? Ah, they plugged it up. Here we go. Okay, 554. So we're going to go with the 554, which basically is already pre-assembled. And that kind of makes sense because I think it was like $10 more or so. So anyway, okay. So we got our spark plugs in. You got all these anti-seized with copper. We found our belts, by the way. We've got one. There are only 5 separate. So that's like a 440, a 15 series. There's 13, 15, 17, and then 19. 19 being your wider, your biggest V belt. So these are 15s. You got a 440 here going to the alternator, and this one was a 435 to the water pump. I mean the power steering pump. We ended up having to get him a new a power steering pump with the brackets, and that's by Tough Stuff. We've got a long water neck. We've got all our pulleys. Nothing really worked. I mean, look at this stuff here. This was the battery tray, what was left of it. And the whole thing had been jerry-rigged.
Everything going good, Jim?
So far, yes. I've this little tool here, it's a stop. You adjust it, and you put a piece of tape across, and you turn your motor over by hand slowly until you hit. Then you go all the way around the opposite way until you hit again, and then it's all marked right here. See these marks? Oh, God. Okay. See this right here? This is what we got. So if you look here and here, we're pretty much dead in the middle. That's where our index is. So that index is total TDC. So we know that. So we can trust that when we're timing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug this off. I have a whistle somewhere, but I'm going to plug this off. When this pops out, that's going to give me compression firing, and that's going to be pretty much my number one, okay? And then I'm going to want to see that armature facing toward number one. And of course it goes in a clockwise fashion. Okay, so I need to keep these two out of the way, basically. One is for, the pink one here is my power to distributor. The other one is my tack. Okay? So we're not using either one of them at the moment right now. The cap is off. Just want to get these out of the way, that's all. There we go. All right, if it all goes well, we should be able to turn this on. You hear that? See that? All right, that right there should be number one. It's coming around clockwise. 1/8. Okay, so we are, where's that notch at? There's that notch. That notch goes there. That's our number one, okay? If I can get that back on there. Okay, that's there. Okay, that's right before it. Right about there is where she's going to want to fire, okay? So that's going to be our next step. We're going to put the cap on. We're not going to hook power up to it yet because we still have to prime the system. Okay. And of course our firing order on the small block is 1/8, 436572. All right, now we still got to put on plug wires, but for right now we're going to get us some oil. I've got brand new bearings, so I'm going to screw this into this port right there. Okay, that's not even tightened down, shouldn't be. And we're going to inject our oil in. Yeah, I got to get an Allen wrench. We're going to inject our oil into there. We're hooked up to the gauge, mechanical gauge. So that's going to read all the oil pressure. And at the same time, since we already know where our number one is, we're going to turn this motor over around once or twice while that's pressurizing up into the system. And what you do is you put your oil in here. It's kind of neat. This is by Melling. So you unscrew this right up here. This thing's a pain in the ass over time when it sits. I think I'm gonna have to get something else. You put your oil in here and you pump this up to about 60-70 pounds, and then as you're turning your motor over and you're reading your oil pressure in your motor off the gauge, you turn that valve on. See that? Yep. And that injects, and there's our air valve. That injects the oil into your system.
That's a neat little tool.
There's still some oil in there. You said we got that primed. That's about 4 of them. Put the rest in through the valve cover. Just pump this up with some air. We got that shut off. Let's give it about 60, roughly. There we go. 13. Not the greatest seal. That's good enough. Okay. Now, as we turn this, oh, I can't turn it on yet. I got to get an Allen wrench and pop that off so I can screw that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, where is an Allen wrench?
I think we got them
here
little
we
socket
go.
bits right there.
Here we Almost had an Exxon Valdez all over the floor.
Oh no!
Okay. That right there. Boom, that is on there. What the hell? Alright, let me get a socket on that. That's a quarter. Okay, that's good. Now, I should... Okay, I don't know if you can reach down while I'm over here, because that's mechanical. Alright.
Well, I do flip this lever.
Yeah, flip that lever on. Okay,
Alright, it's on.
go ahead. There's that one spot again. Yep, there, we're getting oil pressure now.
Good morning, Jim. It's another day, another dollar, like you always say.
Yeah, that is. So, we're pretty much ready to get this thing fired up.
Yeah?
We fueled it up. We've got water in here. We tested it because they had a sensor. We took care of that. We still have this right here. Okay, this pump. So we're going to have to loosen this and take this belt off. Means I'm going to have to loosen both of them because I don't want to be turning this. Other than that, we're ready to fire this thing off. All right, so let's go over there where there's a little more light. Okay?
All right.
All right, let's get this into the light. Oh, that's my foot. Right out here in the open in case it explodes, right?
Right.
All right. Make some noise. All right. Go ahead and walk around. Hey, one thing we did here, okay, and keep in mind, this power steering pump, and it's brand new. I don't want to damage it. We just ended up making a loop, okay, and put some fluid in here. You don't want to turn them dry. You'll burn them out.
Right.
All right, so far everything is good. Everything checks out. Got our screwdrivers here. We have to open this up so we can get to the adjustment. All right. Set this down. That's good. Everything's looking good. Put that up there just in there. All right, you're gonna see. So, ready?
Let's do it.
Do it. Idling at about 750. Voltage is not registering for some reason. We'll have to find out. before everything looks good. Get some heat in the motor. We're still at 69 pounds. We're not even 120. Watching the video, here's your motor. Look at that, sounds great. Look at that response. Mark, is that the phone? Is that the phone? Can't hear it. Let's wait till we build up some heat and we'll shut down. But so far so good. Our pressure tap, let's check here. Just get my laser on here and see where we're at. Yeah, water's pretty much up. Shut that off. Check the vacuum since this is stock. Stock is anywhere from 70 to 19, so this is about a 7.75, most likely a 7.5 to 8. That comes stock with a 6.5, so we'll open up the bowl later. But we're starting to register. See that? Look at that. We're still at 62 pounds idling, and we're about 130. So we still yet to get heat in the motor. And then our voltage, it just needs to be connected. In fact, chances are these two are crossed. Let me shut that off for a sec. These two are crossed. I don't know. This is what's known as a loop, and it turns it into basically a one wire. Everything's going good. Contact. Still not registering. I'll have to send that out. Chances are that thing's not working. We're directly into the battery. We should be focusing on a charge. But I'm going to double check this with our the battery. We should be focusing on a charge, but I'm going to double check this. We're not getting a reading. I think his, shit, even his alternator is down. No, same. All right, so what we got going on here is you loop into lead 1 or 2 to the main, and that basically one wires the system, because ordinarily these two will go in your dash. One goes to your alternator, the other one I believe goes to at least a 5 to 8 watt bulb resistor, and without it you won't produce any power. So it's 1216 and we're running off the battery, so it's safe to say this alternator is bad. Now as far as our let's bump that up a bit. That's probably too much timing.
How much fuel we think we got?
What's that?
You think we still have enough fuel in here?
Oh, I don't think we burned a gallon that much.
Well, I didn't fill it all the way up. I only filled it halfway.
What'd you do?
I only filled it halfway. I didn't think we were gonna have it running that much.
We got to check that out. That's an issue. But yeah, my vacuum right now, I got to check my vacuum, and I think we're around 16, somewhere around there. But it started to die, and we're having a starter issue. So, anyways, well, I guess that's it for now. I know I have to deal with the alternator, and I got to change out the power valve, but all in all, I mean, she's pretty much running fine, and she's ready to go. God, that starter. Yeah, we have definitely got a starter issue. And I can't see, we'll have to look to see if the Bendix is coming out, if it needs to be shimmed. But in any case, we'll need to look at that and make sure that's taken care of, because that's the actual starter and flex plate that is going to go with this motor. So other than that, and let me hear, is it, are we, do we have fuel? Yeah, we got fuel. It's just the starter.
Yeah.
All right, well, anyways, thanks for tuning in to another video of American Garage TV. And Ray, you got an engine. Now we just need to deal with the transmission, get it all together, and send her home. Anyways, I'm Jim Speed Shop. Again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of American Garage TV. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share with a friend. We'll see you next time.